Simplicity of those kind of things lives on. I mean,
Yeah.
makes them classic too.
That was one of the things that Sam Phillips was talking about a lot yesterday. We were talking about new artists and how tough it is for them because they just don't have an opportunity to make mistakes. And Sam was saying, yeah, that is one of the things that they could do, is make mistakes and try. He said it's amazing to him that given the technology that we have today, people are relying on it much too much and not realizing that you have to know the basics,
Right. That's right. They're letting the machines do so much of it, and it's so seamless and
Yeah.
spot on that I like to hear the mistakes and the
Exactly.
outtakes.
He was saying yesterday that there's probably not one Sun record that was ever recorded, if you listen to it, that everybody finishes at the same time at the end. Why do you think, Jimmy, that it happened in Macon?
I don't know why it happened in Macon. It could have been any town really, with the right ingredients. Macon seemed like it was a central area. It was a central location for people in that area. People coming up from Florida, people traveling through from Alabama or Tennessee. But also, one thing that I think made Macon happen was that it was a little bit out of the way. It wasn't in an Atlanta or a major urban center that had a lot of distractions. When you recorded in Macon at the studio there, that's what you did. I mean, other than going to a barbecue joint or going to one of the two little honky tonks they had, there wasn't anything else to do, really, except go out in the country and ride horses or go canoeing or something. But it really could have been any place, but there were a lot of musicians that had settled there, and after the word spread around, I think a lot more came, from surrounding areas.
How was the community? I remember talking to Bill Graham last year and doing a show in San Francisco, and him talking about the fact that one of the reasons why the music scene developed in San Francisco was because the community was so lenient towards musicians. Was that also the case in Macon? I mean, here you guys were with long hair and musicians and rowdy, and how were you accepted?
At first, I think the city fathers and the local police and the powers that be in Macon were a little bit unsure about what was going on there. I think they were afraid of it. It was an unknown, thing going on in their town there, and they took every opportunity to to harass us and to stop us for having out-of-state license plates and things like that. But after they got to know us and after they saw that we just wanted to make music and not cause trouble, everybody actually became good friends, and there was a real community feeling going on in Macon at that time in the early and mid-'70s. We all did benefits for the city, for the city jails, for local children's charities and things. And so any money that we were making, we were kind of doing our share, giving our part. But just talking about the family feeling there, it was something that had started, say, in other areas, say the West Coast, really earlier, a few years earlier, but it really caught on with the whole community, and especially the musicians and the people surrounding us there. Really felt like a big family. And a lot of people might say that sounds corny these days, but we did a lot of playing together on stage and off stage, in the studio, on back porches, and played on each other's albums. Everybody was, I mean, since there were so many groups traveling through there and living there, we helped each other out. We were very supportive of each other, and I think that helped nurture the whole scene there.
It's always important to have that sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
Would you either come in or out, one of the two? Yeah, that's incredibly important. I can remember talking recently to Stevie Ray and talking about Austin, and it seems to be very much going on in Austin right now.
Right.
That same sort of sense of community.
Yeah, I think, well, Nashville has a lot of that. Nashville had a music scene going on here for years. I mean, a lot. I don't know when it really started springing up here, but I know Hank Williams and his peers really kicked it off, and they don't call it Music City for nothing. It's very accepting and very understanding of the musician and his lifestyle, and I think that's one reason I moved here.
Is there a healthy bar scene in Nashville now, Jimmy, or is it mostly studio musicians, or?
There's a very, I think people traveling through and people from out of town come here and really not knowing where to go to see music, and they'll pop in any one of say a half dozen local clubs and be amazed at the caliber of music that they're able to just walk in on any night of the week, especially on weekends. There are several good clubs where, since there are so many musicians here that do, record and do session work, and myself included, it's so fun and so easy to just, put something together and jump in one of the clubs and just get in front of some people and try out some new material, keep your chops up, and I think it's a very healthy scene. I mean, you don't make a ton of money at it, but that's not the reason you do it. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
What did you do? What'd you do after Wet Willie? What then?
Spent 10 years in Wet Willie, and that was the 70s for me. If I look back and say, somebody said, it's like, what you did on your summer vacation? What'd you do in the 70s? I was in a band called Wet Willie, and we did we did 10 albums, including live and best of packages and things. And when I got an opportunity in 1980 to do a solo album and kind of go out on my own, it had been a dream of mine for years, and it was something I was planning on doing kind of as a side project or in between Wet Willie projects anyway. So when it seemed like Macon wasn't really a thriving music center anymore, and there's still a lot of the players that live down there, I decided to check out another area, and I was in the process of putting together my first solo record and talking to a Nashville producer, working with a Nashville manager. So all the pieces kind of fit together for me to move here, and decided to make the move in 1980. And I was really excited about what I found here and what the things that were going on, and the studios, and the quality of musicianship, and the quality of songwriting and songwriters that were here. And that's why I'm still here. I love what's going on here. I think it's good for me, and good for my art. You know.
You played for a while with a band that involved two of the fellows from the Allman Brothers, with Dickie and Butch. What was that like? Had you known them from Macon? Were you?
I'd known Dickie and Butch of the Allman Brothers since the early '70s, when Wet Willie did a lot of touring with the Allman Brothers. In fact, Wet Willie's first tours were with first national tours were with the Allman Brothers. So I'd known them for a while, but never gotten to really do a lot of playing with them. I mean, we did jam at a few of the concerts, but when I got the opportunity in 1982 to put a band together with Dickie Betts and Butch Trucks and Chuck Lavelle, I was very excited about it, because this was, to me, the cream of the crop of Southern music, of Southern rock. And it was kind of a supergroup to me, I mean, and to a lot of people. And it was a project that was a lot of fun to do, and especially a lot of fun to take on the road, because of the great music we made, and the wealth of material we had to draw on. All the Wet Willie stuff, and Allman Brothers, and Sea Level music, and the music we were writing together. It was definitely a fun project to do.
How was the audience response? I mean,
We were received tremendously. We played New York 3 or 4 times, and sold out shows there. Played, of course, all over the South. Played, the Midwest, and down in Florida a lot too. And everywhere we went, everybody was excited about seeing a lot of their favorite players in one band, and hearing an Allman Brothers hit here, or a Jimmy Hall song here, a Chuck Lavelle song, where we all took turns performing our material, and then and did our original. I mean, we were writing some nice things together too. I don't know. I still look back and wonder why we didn't hook into the right deal, and that's something you never know. I mean, I don't know if the stigma of being Southern rockers helped in the minds of record labels. I don't know if they could really see past what we had done in the past and look to what we were writing now, at the time. I also don't know if this is something you want to use much of or not, but
Is there? It seems like I was at some of those shows certainly, and saw
Sure.
the audience response. Do you think there'll ever? I mean, I think there is an audience out there for it. Do you think there'll ever be a resurgence of that kind of music? Will it recycle? Will it come back?
Well, let's see. Now here in the 80s, we're getting a resurgence of the 60s, so we got to wait till the 90s for Southern rock to come back around, and so I'm saving my Confederate flag T-shirts, and I don't know. Look at Tom Petty in an album, called Southern Accents, and there's a good flow. I don't think Southern music is ever going to stop. There's always going to be great players and great songs coming, and great bands coming out of the South. locally, Jason and the Scorchers. You know, I'm still rocking along. Charlie Daniels is still doing his best and doing great stuff. REM and the whole scene from, you know, down in Athens is very viable, and so many good things coming out of there. There's still kind of a cult following, or more than a cult. I mean, there's a good base of people that still, you know, want to hear the Wet Willie material and want to hear the Allman Brothers music and still request it on the radio station. So, you know, I'm sure there's still a good audience out there for it.
Well, I think it, you know, I think it goes without saying that's classic music. You know, it'll never just disappear by a long shot.
No, something I was thinking about was the fact that it's so honest, and a lot of it has a simplicity that that stays on, has staying power, that lasts through time. You know, I think that's what makes classic music.
It's also, you know, it's also just real fun music. You know, I was talking to Jimmy Buffett the other day about Southern music, and he talked a great deal about his music in particular just being fun. You know, he likes to play for an audience and have a good time and let them have a good time, which I think is indicative of Southern music, don't you?
I think you've got to have a sense of humor in this business, and I think with your music you've got to inject that. You've got to have that sense of fun, and let's have a good time. And you know, I've written some songs, and Wet Willie's done some material that, you know, that's just fun. It's hey, don't take this too seriously. I mean, the lyrics aren't too deep. You can move to the beat of the thing. Just, you know, turn off your mind and let your body do the work. You know, have fun with it.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Sure.